There comes a moment every man faces, the moment you're convinced she's never coming back. Her silence feels permanent. Her distance feels final. And that tightness in your chest makes you believe the story is over. But here's the truth most men don't realize. Just because she walked out of your life doesn't mean she walked out of the story. Women rarely detach the way they appear to, and the version of you she left is not the version of you she'll notice later. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what actually happens when you think she's gone for good, and why your transformation is the one thing that changes everything. If you're ready to understand this dynamic from a place of calm strength and stoic clarity, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and let's begin. Number 1. When her absence feels final. When she walks away, it feels like the world drops into silence. The kind of silence that convinces you she's never coming back. And I know many of you watching this video clicked because that's exactly how you feel right now. Like the story is over. Like the door is locked for good. But hear me clearly. Endings are almost never as permanent as they look in the moment. What feels like a full stop is often just a pause life forces you to take. Right now, you're standing at the edge of an emotional storm. And like a stoic warrior watching the clouds gather, your first instinct shouldn't be to panic, but to breathe, to slow your pulse, to ground yourself. Because the Stoics taught a simple truth. The event matters far less than your response to it. You can't stop her from walking away, but you control what you do with the space she leaves behind. Think of it like this. Imagine you're standing on a shoreline after a ship sails off. In the moment, all you see is the distance growing. Your mind screams, she's gone, she's not coming back. But what you don't see, what almost no man sees, is that the ocean works in cycles. Waves leave, but they return. The ship disappears, but only because your perspective is limited. The horizon hides the movement that's still happening. Pain sharpens awareness. Stillness sharpens strength. This moment, the one that feels like complete loss, is the exact moment your transformation begins. It's where your emotional reflexes calm down, where you stop reacting and start observing. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayals, distance, loss, and instead of collapsing under it, he used it to understand himself more deeply. That's your path now. The suffering you feel isn't proof she'll never come back. It's proof you care. And that care can be redirected into becoming a man who brings stability to chaos, not chaos to stability. And here's the part most men don't realize. Women feel the shift when a man stops drowning in heartbreak and starts standing firmly in himself again. They sense when you turn your attention inward, when you move with purpose, instead of panic. It's often when you stop chasing what's leaving that life quietly sets the stage for it to return. But differently, stronger, on your terms. So if you're watching this thinking she's gone forever, understand this. You're not in the ending. You're in the clearing before the next chapter. Slow down. Breathe. Collect yourself. Because this is where the man she didn't expect you to become finally begins to rise. Before we move on, take a moment to sit with what you just heard. This phase isn't about chasing her. It's about reclaiming yourself. And if this message is resonating with you so far, do me one favor. Support the channel. Hit the like button. Leave a comment sharing what part spoke to you the most. So I know you're walking this path with intention. Now let's go deeper into what truly shifts the dynamic when you think she's never coming back. Number 2. The truth behind her emotional silence. Her silence isn't a void, it's a shield. Women don't vanish when they walk away. They retreat into themselves. What feels like rejection is often reflection. Marcus Aurelius wrote his deepest thoughts in quiet solitude, not when surrounded by people. In the same way, her withdrawal is where she's sorting out her feelings, her regrets, her fears. It's the phase you don't see, but the phase that matters most. Silence isn't the end. It's the beginning of her emotional processing. And I want you to really hear this. Her quiet isn't indifference. It's not a sign that she forgot you overnight. Think of it like this. When someone touches a hot stove, they pull their hand back, not because they don't care about the stove, but because they need a moment to deal with the pain. Her silence often works the same way. She's stepping back to understand what she felt, what she lost, and what part she played in pushing things to this point. Sometimes she goes silent because she's overwhelmed by the very emotions she doesn't want to show you. I've seen countless men misinterpret this phase. They think if she cared, she'd reach out. But that's not how emotions work. A woman who cares deeply may be even more likely to disappear for a while. She's fighting the urge to talk, trying to protect her pride, trying to make sense of the tension inside her chest. Picture her late at night staring at the ceiling, replaying conversations you've already forgotten. That little joke you made, the way you said goodbye last time, the moment she snapped at you. She's analyzing all those details in silence. And while you're sitting here thinking it's over forever, she's wrestling with thoughts she'll never openly admit. A Stoic would tell you, don't react to the silence. Observe it. Let it unfold without panicking. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that every person is fighting a battle you can't see. And this is exactly one of those battles. Her silence is where she's clashing with her ego, her longing, her confusion, and her fear of being vulnerable again. So when this silence feels heavy, when you start convincing yourself she's never returning, remember this truth. Emotional processing often looks like distance, the calm before clarity, the pause before she decides what to do next. You're not watching her walk away. You're watching her confront herself. And sometimes that's exactly what brings her back. Number 3, why your neediness kept her away. Neediness is invisible until it's not. She didn't leave because you weren't good enough. She left because somewhere along the line you drifted away from your center. And if you're watching this thinking she's never coming back, this is exactly the part most men never understand. A woman doesn't run from you. She runs from the version of you that lost himself. When you stopped being grounded, when you started acting out of fear instead of confidence, everything inside the connection shifted. You found yourself reacting to every little change in her tone. You analyzed her messages like they were clues. You tried to hold on tighter because you sensed her slipping. But tightness never creates closeness. It only creates pressure. What should have been held with calm, steady hands became something you were squeezing from panic. And no woman feels safe in the grip of a man who's holding on out of fear. Stoicism teaches something powerful. Control what you can. Release what you can't. Epictetus used to remind his students that the moment you depend on external things for peace, you lose your power. That became your story. Her responses determined your mood. Her silence made you anxious. Her attention became your lifeline. Without realizing it, you made her your emotional oxygen, and she felt the weight of that. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine she had a long day and replied later than usual. Nothing dramatic, just life happening. Instead of staying calm and steady, you spiraled. You wondered what you did wrong. You checked your phone every 5 minutes. You sent another message to clarify. You tried to bring back the connection by forcing it. And the more you did that, the more she withdrew. Not because she didn't care, but because she felt responsible for your emotional stability. That responsibility becomes exhausting. Here's the irony. The version of you she was first drawn to wasn't the one who needed reassurance. It was the one who was centered, living with purpose, confident in silence, and emotionally self-sufficient. That man wasn't waiting by the phone. He wasn't panicking at every shift. He moved through life like Marcus Aurelius, calm, observant, grounded. And that is the man she could trust, admire, and relax around. But here's the part you need to hear, the part that should give you hope. Even if you're convinced she's never coming back, you can become that man again. Neediness wasn't a permanent trait. It was a temporary detour. The moment you reclaim your emotional independence, the energy changes instantly. You breathe differently. You respond differently. You carry yourself with a quiet strength that people feel without a word. And that shift, that steady, calm, self-contained presence, is exactly what makes a woman stop and think. It's what makes her wonder if she misjudged you. It's what makes her scroll through your profile again. It's what makes her remember the version of you she once felt safe with. Women don't return to the man who needs them. They return to the man who doesn't crumble without them. And if you're watching this thinking she's never coming back, understand this. The moment you rise back into your strength, the moment you stop chasing and start rebuilding, the universe has a way of shifting the entire dynamic. Not because you forced it, but because you finally became the man who doesn't need to force anything at all. Number 4, the moment she starts wondering about you again. Here's what most men don't realize. Long before a woman reaches out, she starts wondering. Your energy shifts before your actions do, and she feels it. The moment you stabilize, the moment your mind becomes still, curiosity wakes up inside her. Cleanthes used to train his body late into the night, carrying water silently, practicing discipline no one else saw. That's you now, strengthening yourself quietly. And trust me, she senses that change even if she never says it. Because it's in the quiet moments when you finally stop chasing, stop overthinking, stop trying to force anything, that she begins to feel something she can't quite explain. Imagine this. Weeks ago, you were the man who reacted to every little shift in her tone, checking your phone constantly, losing sleep over her last message. But now, you've pulled your attention back into your own life. You're at the gym earlier. You're more focused at work. You're not gripping the situation anymore. That emotional shift is subtle, but women pick up on subtlety, like a sixth sense. She notices when the anxiety leaves your voice. She notices when your energy doesn't circle around her anymore. And that's when the wondering begins. She'll replay past conversations, reread old messages, even remember moments she brushed off, like the time you stayed calm when she was emotional, or how your presence made her feel safe without you even trying. Suddenly, your silence doesn't feel like distance. It feels like strength. It feels like peace. It feels like something she didn't appreciate enough. Stoicism teaches that a man's true power appears when he stops clinging and starts living. When you detach from what you can't control, you become more grounded, more magnetic, more composed. And whether she admits it or not, a woman feels that shift instantly. The irony is this: she starts to miss you, not when you reach out, but when you finally stop feeling like you need her. So, if you're watching this thinking she's never coming back, understand this truth. Her curiosity always returns when your peace does. Your absence hits differently when it's no longer coming from pain, but from clarity. And that's often the exact moment she starts wondering where you went and why she suddenly wants to find her way back. Here's the moment to pause, not for her, but for you. Everything you just heard isn't theory, it's the shift you're living through right now. And before we move into the next part, I want you to really sit with this. The energy you're building, the discipline you're practicing, the calm you're cultivating, all of it is reshaping the story in ways you may not see yet. Take a second and reflect on where you were emotionally a few weeks ago, compared to where you are now. That contrast is your proof of growth. If any part of this hit you, share your thoughts below or simply type, "My peace speaks louder." Sometimes writing it out is the first step toward owning the strength you're stepping into. Let's continue. Number 5, how your silence becomes the loudest message. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop arguing, she notices. Your silence becomes a mirror she can't escape. It reflects her decisions, her doubts, the moments she acted on impulse, and the parts of her she tried to bury. And if you're watching this, convinced she's never coming back, you need to hear this. Silence is not the end of the story. Silence is where the real shift begins. A Stoic man understands the strength of restraint. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by events, by our judgments about them. And right now, your silence is proof that you are no longer judging yourself by how she responds. You're practicing a discipline she never expected from you. You're not sending long emotional paragraphs to fix things. You're not explaining your worth. You're not begging to be understood. Instead, you're allowing your calm to speak louder than your old reactions ever did. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine she opens her phone late at night. She scrolls through her notifications, half expecting your name to pop up because you've always been predictable. She looks again. Nothing. Then again, still nothing. At first, she tells herself she's relieved that she wanted space. But after a few minutes or hours, the realization hits her. The man who once cared so deeply has gone quiet. Not angry, not dramatic, just still. And that stillness unsettles her far more than any argument ever could. Your silence doesn't create distance. It creates contrast. It highlights the difference between who you used to be and who you're becoming now. The man who once overreacted is now composed. The man who couldn't handle discomfort is now embracing it. The man who used to follow his emotions is now guided by principle. That transformation hits her on a deeper level than you can imagine. Marcus Aurelius wrote that true strength is staying calm in the face of storms. And right now, you are the calm. She is the storm. Your silence reveals that contrast with brutal clarity. It forces her to sit with her own discomfort, with her own choices, with the space you used to fill. Silence is not passive. Silence is a message. It says, "I've stopped trying to convince you. I've stopped trying to win you. I've stopped trying to rescue what isn't ready to be held." And that message shakes something inside her because she remembers the version of you who would have done anything to stay. She didn't. Expect the new version, the grounded, self-controlled, emotionally steady version. If you think she's never coming back, understand this. Women don't miss the man who begged. They miss the man who found himself again. They miss the man who chose dignity over desperation. They miss the man whose silence reflects growth, not bitterness. And that's what makes your silence the loudest message she'll ever hear. Number 6, the shift she didn't expect. She predicted your next move. She thought you'd fold, that you'd text her first, that you'd try to win her back immediately. But instead, you rose, emotionally, physically, mentally. You shifted in a way she didn't expect. Epictetus said, "We reveal our character not in comfort, but in adversity." And the moment you stop trying to rescue the connection and focus instead on rescuing yourself, her certainty begins to crack. She starts questioning what she assumed about you. Right now, you might feel like you've lost everything, but what you don't see, what she never saw coming, is the transformation that begins when you finally let go. You step out of that emotional fog and into a version of yourself you didn't even know was possible. Your posture changes, your tone changes, your presence becomes different. Not because you're pretending, but because you're finally choosing yourself. Imagine this. Before, you used to respond instantly just to feel connected. You used to pour your energy into trying to keep her interested. But now, you've created distance not out of manipulation, but out of growth. You start reading again. You start working out. You fix the parts of your life you neglected because you were too busy trying to keep her happy. And while you're getting stronger, she's noticing the silence. She's noticing that the version of you she could predict is nowhere to be found. There's a moment, and every man watching this will eventually experience it, when your improvement becomes undeniable. Maybe you post a photo looking sharper than before. Maybe a mutual friend mentions how focused you've become. Maybe she sees you walking somewhere alone, calm, not searching for her eyes. That small glimpse disrupts her entire narrative. She thought you'd be waiting. Instead, you're rising. Stoicism teaches that true power is calm power, the kind that doesn't announce itself, but is impossible to ignore. When you stop reacting to her absence and start acting with purpose, your energy becomes magnetic again, quiet, steady, unbothered. You stop needing her validation, and that's when she truly begins to doubt her decision. Not because you're trying to make her miss you, but because you're finally centered in a way you weren't before. And that's the part she never expected. That losing you would make you stronger, not weaker. That walking away wouldn't break you. It would build you. And once she realizes the man she left behind is becoming the man she might never get back, the entire dynamic shifts. That's the power of letting go. That's the shift she didn't expect. Number 7. When your growth becomes impossible to ignore. Women notice growth far sooner and far deeper than they will ever admit out loud. They may pretend not to look, they may act unbothered, but the moment your discipline sharpens, something inside her registers the shift. When your body starts changing, when your confidence becomes quieter but more solid, when your energy becomes focused instead of scattered, it disrupts the version of you she once carried in her mind. Suddenly, the man she thought she understood no longer matches the man you're becoming. That contrast challenges her assumptions, whether she wants to acknowledge it or not. Your evolution forces her to confront a truth she never expected. You're not frozen in the place where she left you. You're noting old memories or orbiting around old wounds. You're moving. You're rising. You're stepping into a higher version of yourself, one she can't predict, one she can't control, one she no longer fully recognizes. And that changes everything. Epictetus taught that a man's priority should never be to persuade others of his worth, but to strengthen his own character. That's exactly the path you're on now. You're not improving to impress her. You're improving because life requires you to grow or be left behind. Picture this clearly. She's scrolling through her phone, half distracted, and suddenly she pauses. Not because you posted something flashy or because you're trying to get anyone's attention, but because something about you feels different. Maybe it's the calm in your eyes. Maybe it's the discipline reflected in your habits. Maybe it's the subtle confidence of a man who's no longer searching for approval. She remembers the version of you who doubted himself, who needed reassurance, who slipped out of alignment whenever emotions ran high. Now she sees a man who trains early, who protects his peace, who builds his future with intention. And trust me, that shift hits harder than any message you could ever send. This is the point where your growth becomes impossible for her to ignore. You're no longer driven by wanting her back. You're driven by wanting yourself back. You're becoming the man you were always meant to be, grounded, directed, unshakable. You're creating a life where your value is self-defined, where your mission is clear, where your peace is non-negotiable. The irony is undeniable. The moment you stop trying to be the man she hoped for, You become the man she never thought you could be. So hear this clearly. The moment you choose growth over desperation, everything shifts. Maybe she returns, maybe she doesn't. But either way, you rise. And rising is the one outcome she never anticipated, but the one she will absolutely feel whether she ever says a word or not. Number 8. The moment she realizes you're no longer waiting. This is the turning point. She senses it in your absence. The difference between a man who's hurting and a man who's healing. Women have an instinct for emotional energy, and yours has shifted in a way she can't quite explain. She can feel that you're no longer standing still, no longer hoping, no longer orbiting around her. Seneca taught detachment not as coldness, but as freedom from outcomes, and that's exactly what you're stepping into now. You didn't move on to replace her. You moved forward to rebuild yourself. And that precise moment, the moment you choose growth over grief, is when she feels the shift the most. Think back to who you were when she walked away. She left expecting a certain version of you to remain behind. The man who checked his phone too often. The man who tried to fix everything overnight. The man whose world shrank the moment her presence disappeared. She assumed that version of you would linger stuck, anxious, emotionally anchored to her decision. But now, your energy is different. You're not posting to get her attention. You're not hoping she sees something. You're not waiting for her name to flash on your screen like a lifeline. Your silence feels grounded, not wounded. And whether she admits it or not, that unsettles her in a way words never could. Picture this for a moment. She opens your old chat, maybe out of boredom, maybe out of curiosity, maybe just to confirm that she still holds the power she used to. She expects to feel that familiar sense of control, the expectation that you're still there, still emotionally available, still waiting for her to decide if you're worthy again. But the energy has shifted. She doesn't sense the man she left behind. Instead, she feels distance. She feels your absence like a door quietly closing, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. And that's when she pauses. That's when the doubt kicks in. That's when he'll always be there. Slowly turns into, what if he's not anymore? This is where the Stoic shift becomes undeniable. Seneca said, "The greatest victory is mastery over your own mind, and you're living proof of that principle. You're no longer reacting to her silence. You're using it as fuel. You're waking up earlier. You're training harder. You're working with more direction. You're reconnecting with the parts of yourself you abandoned when you tried too hard to hold on to someone who let go. You've stopped waiting for her to choose you because you finally chose yourself. And that inner transformation, that stillness, that forward momentum, it radiates. She feels it, even from a distance. The irony is almost poetic. The moment you stop hoping she'll come back is often the exact moment she starts wondering if letting you go was the biggest mistake she ever made. This is the point where I want you to pause and really think about what's happening inside you. Not the situation, not her decisions. You. Because this shift you're making isn't just noticeable, it's powerful. It's the kind of transformation that quietly changes the entire dynamic without you saying a single word. And I'm curious how this resonates with you. Have you felt this shift in yourself? Have you noticed your energy becoming calmer, stronger, more self-directed? Share what's been happening in your journey below. Your insight might be the exact thing another man needs to hear today. Number 9. Why emotional distance creates awareness. Distance doesn't erase emotions, it exposes them. Let that sink in for a moment. Because if you're watching this thinking she's never coming back, chances are you're imagining that your silence is pushing her further away. But the truth is far more complex and far more in your favor. Distance doesn't kill connection. It reveals its real strength. When you pull back, when you stop pouring energy into someone who stopped appreciating it, a kind of emotional clarity unfolds on her side. The further you step away, the clearer everything becomes for her. When you stop showing up the way you used to, she starts noticing the gaps. The responses that once felt guaranteed suddenly feel distant. The comfort she took for granted becomes something she can't easily recreate. The attention she dismissed before now stands out in her mind. What she undervalued now feels rare. What she assumed she'd always have suddenly feels uncertain. And uncertainty is what sparks awareness. Let me paint the picture for you. Imagine you used to text her every morning. Nothing dramatic, just a simple, "Hope you have a good day." She probably never said it, but that message anchored her more than she ever admitted. It became part of her emotional rhythm. So the day you stop sending it, she tells herself she doesn't care. She pretends it doesn't matter. But around noon, she glances at her phone just to check, just to confirm. That moment, right there, that tiny flash of confusion or disappointment, is awareness. And it doesn't happen through closeness. It happens through distance. This is where Stoicism becomes your greatest strength. Stoicism reminds you that you can't control people, only your own choices, energy, and reactions. Marcus Aurelius said that a man becomes powerful the moment he stops needing anything outside of his own mind. That's exactly what you're practicing now. You're not withdrawing to punish her. You're withdrawing to protect yourself, to regain your center, to step fully back into your own life instead of orbiting someone else's decisions. Ironically, by choosing distance instead of desperation, you force her to confront what she truly feels without any push from you. She's not accustomed to your calm. She's not used to your grounded silence. She's not expecting your emotional detachment. And that stillness unsettles her far more than any message, argument, or confession ever could. It makes her rethink her decisions. It makes her question whether she misjudged your value. It creates the exact space needed for regret to even exist. And if you're sitting there doubting whether she'll ever return, remember this. Emotional awareness doesn't happen when you chase. It doesn't happen when you explain. It doesn't happen when you beg. It happens when you stop, when you stand still, when you breathe, when you reclaim your peace, when you choose yourself again. That's when she finally begins to see the truth. That's when she finally feels the loss. Distance doesn't push her away. It wakes her up. Number 10. When she feels replaced by your peace. A woman can compete with another woman, but she cannot compete with a man's peace. And I want you to really sit with that for a moment. When she feels that calm, grounded, unbothered version of you, the version who no longer needs her to feel complete, she doesn't just notice it. She feels replaced by it. It's a shift she never prepared for because she expected you to fall apart, to wait, to chase, to break. Instead, you rose. You stabilized. You became centered in a way that forces her to question the story she told herself about you. Think of it like this. Maybe you used to overthink, check your phone too often, or panic when she pulled away. But now you wake up with a clearer mind. You go to the gym without checking whether she watched your story. You work on your goals with a level of focus she hasn't seen from you in months. That calm energy becomes the new presence in your life. And she can sense it even from a distance. She scrolls past your profile and doesn't see sadness or chasing. She sees stillness. And that stillness makes her wonder who you're becoming without her. Zeno became stronger after losing everything in a shipwreck. He rebuilt himself from nothing. And that's exactly the energy you're stepping into. You didn't lose her. You lost the version of yourself that depended on her. And from those ashes, you're becoming someone more disciplined, more intentional, more focused. Your peace is no longer borrowed from someone else. It's built from your own choices. That's what makes it powerful. And here's what most men don't realize. That transformation affects her more than any new relationship ever could. She can handle the idea of you talking to someone new, but the idea of you being genuinely at peace, that shakes her. Because it means she no longer has emotional influence over you. It means you're not waiting at the door. It means your world didn't collapse. It expanded. A man who finds himself again becomes impossible to ignore. And the moment she realizes you're no longer fighting for her, you're fighting for your own life. That's when she begins to feel the one thing she never expected, replaced not by another woman, but by your calm, unshakable, stoic presence. Sit with this shift for a beat. What's one habit you rebuilt since she left? Sleep, training, work, boundaries. And how has it changed the way you carry yourself? Drop your answer in the comments so other men can learn from it. When you've named that change, keep going, because the next piece is about how this new center quietly reshapes every interaction you have, without a single word. Let's keep watching. Number 11. Why she comes back when you don't expect it. She comes back not because you waited, but because you didn't. Not because you begged, but because you improved. Not because you chased, but because you chose yourself. And I want you to really hear this. You're probably in that space where everything feels final, heavy, irreversible. But endings aren't always endings. Sometimes they're the pressure that forges a stronger version of you. A stoic man doesn't cling to the past. He doesn't collapse into desperation or make his identity dependent on someone else's presence. He does what Zeno did after his shipwreck. He rebuilds. He recalibrates. He becomes so centered, so grounded, so clear in who he is, that life naturally begins to orbit around him again. You stop living in reaction to her absence and start living in alignment with your purpose. Let me give you an example. Imagine a man who falls apart when she walks away. He panics, sends long paragraphs, tries to convince her he's the one. All that does is confirm her decision. But imagine another man, maybe that's you now, who takes the breakup as a signal to return to himself. He focuses on his discipline, his body, his work, his habits. He wakes up earlier, trains harder, becomes more present with himself than he ever was with her. He's not pretending to be strong. He's actually becoming strong. And here's the twist she never expects. As you rise, as your energy shifts, as your mind steadies and your spirit quiets, she feels it. Women can sense a man's emotional gravity long before he ever says a word. When your peace returns, when your purpose sharpens, when your attention stops revolving around her, something inside her wakes up. Curiosity, regret, wonder, even longing. And when she returns, because most women do, it won't be because you forced it. It won't be because you played games or manipulated her emotions. It will be because your inner mastery reshaped the entire dynamic. You became the man she didn't believe you could become while she still had you. You grew into the version of yourself she always wanted, but only recognizes once you're no longer waiting at her door. If you've watched this far, then you already feel the shift inside yourself. The truth is simple. She may return. She may not. But you will never be the same man you were at the beginning of this journey. And that's the point. A stoic man doesn't build his life around who stays or who leaves. He builds it around who he becomes. So whether she comes back tomorrow, next month, or never at all, you walk forward with strength, purpose, and dignity. Because you finally understand that someone leaving your life isn't the end. It's the beginning of your evolution. If this message helped you see things differently, drop a comment below and tell me what part resonated with you most. Don't forget to like this video, Subscribe for more, and check out the recommended videos on your screen. Each one will guide you deeper into the mindset of calm, powerful masculinity. Stay disciplined, stay grounded, and remember, your silence, your growth, and your peace speak louder than anything you could ever say.